Hey, what's up, y'all? This your man Phil. Thanks for tuning into my channel, Happily Married. Today I want to talk about the responsibilities and duties of the man and the woman in a relationship. Today I want you to actually really listen to the perspective that I'm getting ready to give you, and just try to keep an open mind about what I'm going to say, because it's not right or wrong. It's just a perspective. Also, share this video with someone and actually let your significant other see this video, just to open up some dialect about what I'm about to explain. Because we all got different views and different ideas about what we want a woman, or what we think a woman should do in a relationship, and what we think a man should do in a relationship. But the first thing I want to get you to think about is, where did you get these ideas from? And why are you applying them to yourself personally? Did you get these ideas from traditions? Did you get these ideas of what a man and a woman should do from your church? Did you get these ideas and viewpoints from your friends, from what you see on TV, from entertainers? Just ask yourself that question. See, back in the day, I was saying, like, when I say back in the day, I mean back in the day when the roles were clearly identified. Meaning, in the 50s, 60s, way back then, the man went to work, brought home the money. The woman stayed home, took care of the house and the kids. Those roles were clearly identified. So there was no question of what the man was doing in a relationship and what the responsibility of the woman was in a relationship at that time. And I mean, you can debate a whole lot of issues about, why the woman stayed and yada, yada, yada. I'm not here for that. I'm just here to illustrate a point of why I believe that a lot of relationships today are having issues. And I feel that it's because the roles aren't clearly identified in each relationship. And this is why we have so many issues. I can take it back to when I was growing up, right? I had chores growing up in my household. And I got a niece that's close to my age, so we grew up together. So we both had chores in the household. And if we didn't complete those chores, it was chaos. You know what I'm saying? Because Mom Dukes was not playing. You feel what I'm saying? So, and I've done a gauntlet of chores, believe me, right? But I had chores, my niece had chores. And this can apply to you if you grew up with like brothers and siblings your age, or cousins that may have lived with you, or whatever, right? Even if you was a single kid, you might have had chores. But just think about your responsibilities and your duties at that time, right? Maybe you didn't even have chores. So my point is that every household was functioning different. So everybody had a role to play in that household. So ours was chores, right? So there were points in times where our chores switch. So let's say, for instance, I'm washing dishes and cleaning the kitchen this week. My niece might be cleaning the living room and the bathroom or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But then it would flip-flop, right? So what that showed me as a young man was the fact that your role wasn't really based on male or female. It's based on your ability. That applies to your relationship today. Just think if you viewed it as being your ability versus what you perceive as a man's job or as a woman's job. Now, I know that there are certain things that traditionally and socially we just accept as a man, I'm gonna do this, or as a woman, I'm gonna do that. I get that. But I'm talking about overall. Because see, like back in the day when men were bringing all the money home and the women was just staying at home and taking care of the household and cleaning, the roles were clearly identified, so there was really no argument in who did what. But if we look at today, you have women in the workforce today, right? Today, you also have some relationships where the man bring home the money and the woman stays home. So that back in the day could apply till today. But today, a lot of relationships, in order for a lot of households and relationships to function, it requires two incomes. So that actually changes the game and the responsibilities and duties of each individual. When you're in a relationship, you're going to be involved in an endless amount of activities and duties that have to be accomplished. And somebody got to take responsibility for doing these things. And I mean physical things. You know what I'm saying? So back to the point of like when I had chores, right? So it didn't really matter if I was a male and my niece was a female. It was stuff that we had to do in order to not get the consequences of my mom coming home and finding out that we didn't complete our chores. But in order to make our household function properly, because my mom was working. You see what I'm saying? I can give you another example. I remember one time I was at home. I might have been in high school at this time, because if I remember correct, I ain't have a lot of classes during this time. So like I said, I had chores. So I would come home, do my chores, do my homework, boom. Now I know I can go outside and play and have fun and stuff like that. So I remember one time my mom's came home, and what we normally did was I would take out the food when I got home, because I got out of school before my mom's got off work. So I would take out the food that I wanted to eat that night, gave it time to thaw out. So by the time my mom got home, she can actually cook the food, right? Now I knew how to cook at this point in my life, right? I already knew how to cook and was pretty good at it. So this particular day, my mom came home and she pretty much snapped. She went off, right? For whatever reason. But what I understood out of her frustration, it made me think, and it gave me the perception I have to today, right? So she come home, she snapped like, yo, why you ain't cook? You know what I'm saying? Why are you waiting till I get home? And you know what I'm saying? You've been home all day and you haven't cooked anything. You can cook. You cook well. So why do I got to come home and cook every single day or whatever like that? So instead of me getting mad and saying like, well, why you tripping? You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, this is what we do every day. I thought about what she said, and it made sense because I had the time. I was at home already. All my chores was done, homework knocked out, and I'm just chilling. But because I felt like, I ain't gonna say felt like it, because it was the routine of the house at that time, that's what we did. That's just what I was doing. But when she made that comment to me, I never went back to feeling or carrying it like that. You know what I mean? So that doesn't mean that I cooked every day. That doesn't mean that my mom stopped cooking. It just means that when I had the time to take care of a task or an activity to continue to make the household function well, or to allow my mom to function well, I took care of that. So it's the same thing in a relationship. When you're in a relationship, you should want the other individual to function at their maximum, at their peak. And what you do in your relationship as a man is going to be different than what I do in my relationship as a man, because our relationships function differently. You may be in a situation where you bring in all of the money to your household. And if that worked for you in your situation, then you're going to function differently in your household. I may be in a situation where my household needs two incomes, and I'm going to function differently in my relationship, and I'm going to have a different role in my relationship. That doesn't make me more of a man than you, or you more of a man than me, right? Or any one of us less than a man in the other situation. Because let's take it back to the chore situation. I had some friends that grew up just like me that had chores in their household, right? But because I had more chores in my household than they did in their household, didn't make me more of a son in my household than they were in their household. Some of my homeboys, they didn't have no chores. Their mother did everything for them, washed their clothes, made their bed, did all that. But that didn't make them less of a son in their household. They were still a son in their household. And I was still a son in my household. And even though there may have been jokes here and there, whatever, about this and that, it was understood that what I needed to do in my household to make my household function, as far as my responsibilities, it was just understood. If I couldn't come outside until I finished my chores, it was understood. Like I said, it didn't make me less of a friend. It didn't make me less of a son. And it applies today as a man. What you have to do in your household to make your household function and to make your wife function at her peak doesn't make you less of a man if another man don't have to do that in his household. Because it's really about ability. And when you're in a relationship, you should want to help each other. It don't make you less than if you're doing something for your significant other. You should want to do something for your significant other, especially if you have the ability to do it. Just think about that. So, like I said, it ain't no right or wrong. It's just that you need to come to the table and sit at the table and talk to each other. See, women that say, oh, he should be a man, and man should be like, oh, she need to be a woman, whatever, right? But what does that really mean to you in detail? What does that really mean to her in detail? And when y'all come to the table and identify your roles, it doesn't lock you into like a constrictive situation. It actually makes you flexible, because the end goal is to allow the other person to function at their peak. Like I gave the example, let's say you in a situation where you are the individual that's bringing in the income, right? So you are performing your role outside of the home. You're performing your duty outside of the home. So the person that stays home, your duty is inside the home. The person that's outside the home, that's performing their duties, they shouldn't have to come in the home and worry about any duties in the home, because you're at home all day. Your duty should be to take care of the home, right? So that person shouldn't have to come home and worry about why food not cooked. That person shouldn't have to come home and worry about why the clothes are dirty, why the bed isn't made up, why the floor is dirty. You get what I'm saying? Because then they're going to be preoccupied outside of the home and preoccupied inside of the home. And this is what starts to generate problems in a relationship, because it's too much on that one individual. They're 100% performing their duties outside of the home. And then they got to come in here and not get a break from it and start to perform duties inside the home too. Things change when you have both individuals 100% out of the home. When you both get in the home, that means that the duties have to be split 50-50 or as evenly as possible. You have to work together. And it doesn't matter who does what. It really matters about who's capable of doing what. Let's take it back to the chore situation when I was coming up. So most of the time I took out the trash, right? And like I said, my mom and my father, they weren't together the whole time that I grew up, right? So I would go spend the weekends with my father. But because I always took out the trash, it doesn't mean that the trash was just left overflowing until I got back home. The trash was still taken out because my mom, my niece, my sister, they had the ability to take out the trash. So they did it. It wasn't about, oh, only a man take out the trash or only a male takes out the trash. No. If you as a woman, you had the ability to do it, you did it. You see what I'm saying? So just understand my point, right? You should want your significant other thriving to their maximum. That means that you have a role to play in order to accomplish that goal. And it doesn't make you less than if you're performing something that in your relationship works for you, that someone in their relationship don't do. See, a lot of people out here talk about how confident they are about themselves and how, high self-esteem they have. But do you really? When somebody that's not in your household comes first. Your household comes first. Anything outside of that shouldn't have any influence on inside of your home. because it's your situation. Your situation is not my situation. Your situation is not your grandmother's situation. Your situation is not your homeboys or your homegirl's situation. Your situation is going to function differently than anybody's. But you have to sit at the table and clearly identify this stuff, because if you don't, it's going to be a gauntlet of problems. I can guarantee you that. You know what I'm saying? If you look at, let's say, the Lion Kingdom, right? Yeah, the lion is the male lion. He protects the pride and do all these other things. But I've seen male lions hunt too. Even though majority of the time the lioness hunts, I've seen the male lion hunt too. I've seen the female lion protect as well as the male lion. You get what I'm saying? So, long story short, I know this was a little bit longer of a video than I normally do, but I just feel like this is something that needs to be addressed in every relationship. You know, the duties and responsibility of each of you in a relationship, because it'll actually help your relationship thrive, because you're helping each other. And when you help each other, you win. I can tell I'm getting old too, because it was just certain sayings that I used to hear growing up that just made a lot of sense to me, and they make even more sense to me today, right? One of the sayings was, when people would introduce their significant other, they always said, let me introduce my better half, whether it was male or female. So in a relationship, you realize that you two have become one. And when you become one, you move in unison. If you don't move in unison and y'all are both trying to go in opposite direction, that creates friction. When you have enough friction, something is going to break. A lot of times, majority of the times, it's the relationship. That's why you have breakups. You feel what I'm saying? So if I consider you my better half and you consider me your better half, then guess what? When we work together, I'm good as a whole. You're good as a whole. Because if I'm your better half and you're my better half, and we working together and we winning, when I win, you win. When you win, I win. When you're happy, I'm happy. You understand what I'm saying? When you're functioning at your peak, I'm functioning at my peak, because I'm assuring that I'm performing the duties that I need to in order to allow you to function at your peak. And if it's a mutual thing that we have for each other, then I feel like we'll thrive together. And when you're in a relationship, isn't that the goal and objective? To thrive? See, when you clearly identify your duties, responsibilities in your relationship, now you have to take accountability for your actions, because now you know what your responsibilities is. And when you don't do it, then this is why arguments start, right? Because you know what you're supposed to do, but you're not doing. You know what you should do, but you're not doing it. But if you actually complete those things, I don't want to be the dead horse, yo. I feel like, I made my point by now, but like I said, it shouldn't really be based, the responsibilities and duties in a relationship shouldn't necessarily be based off of male or female. It really should be based off of your ability. And if you sit down and you talk to your significant other, hopefully y'all can work something out to where y'all can come to an agreement about that. And if not, if you feel a certain type of way and that other person is not accommodating in this situation, then maybe you might need to reconsider the relationship. I'll holler at y'all later, man. Like I said, share this with your significant other so this can open up the door for dialogue about your actual duties and responsibilities in your relationship. And just to see what each other think about it. And you never know, this might bring y'all closer together and actually help y'all to change if you're not actually doing what you should do, and as far as like making your significant other function to their maximum. And this probably could open up your mind to make you realize why you're having so many problems in your relationship. Because there's certain things that you probably doing right now that you ain't doing it because she should do it. You ain't doing it because he should do it. But if y'all sit down and y'all talk about it and realize that we can help each other do whatever it is that we need to do to make our relationship function at its peak, then it was a good thing. So like I always say, man, I don't know everything. I know a little bit. And if this was meant to help you, hopefully it does. If you didn't vibe with this or this didn't resonate with you, it wasn't for you. So, like, comment, subscribe, share this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one.